Hi, Jamie here. I'm one of the co-founders of Jacobs Burger. Thank you so much for taking a couple minutes to watch this video. Today, I want to talk about what it costs to get divorced in New Jersey. It's a common question. I will tell you, I get this 10 times out of 10 when I meet with potential clients. I get it, it's important. You want to know what the dollars and cents are going to be when it comes to your divorce. But the reality is, I just don't know. I can't tell a client in that initial meeting what the total cost is going to be because I don't know all the issues at hand. And I will caution you, if you sit down with an attorney who tells you that it's going to cost you a set dollar figure to get divorced in New Jersey, you should run out of that door because they are not being truthful with you. So now let's spend a few minutes on the specifics. What are the key considerations that can make a divorce more expensive or less expensive? I can boil these down into three considerations. First is the complexity of the issues. The second is what dispute resolution you choose. And the third is you, and that's the most important one, but we'll get there. So first, the complexity of the issues matter. Let's be honest, there's no simple divorce. No two divorces are the same and no two families are the same. So the complexities in your case are going to be different than that which occurs in other places. But there are some key considerations to think about. Is there a closely held business? Is custody hotly contested? Is this a high net worth case where there are assets that are not typical in the equitable distribution scheme? These are all considerations that can make your case more costly in New Jersey. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about complex divorces. In cases where there's a closely held business and maybe one spouse wasn't involved in the business or was only a little bit involved in the business, there may be instances where you need to engage a forensic accountant to come in and look at what the value of the business is and also what cash flow is available for purposes of support. In the same context, in a custody case where parents can't agree what is in the best interest of the child or children, a custody expert may come in and make recommendations after meeting with the clients and the children on multiple occasions. This, of course, has its own set of costs for the parties and can lengthen the process, which ultimately can make a divorce in New Jersey that much more expensive. Now let's talk about the second key consideration in assessing cost. And that's what type of resolution process you and your spouse choose. If you go the route of alternative dispute resolution, like arbitration or mediation or some version of that, of course, costs are typically going to be less. In the alternative, if it's a litigation case and you're intent on duking it out in the courtroom, War of the Roses style, then you should anticipate that your costs are going to be higher. Litigation costs can range in the amount of time it takes to actually litigate a case. If you need experts and you're relying on the judge to have a trial, that's going to exponentially increase your divorce costs. I started out by saying that there were three key considerations, and I also mentioned that you are the most important one, and I stick by that. You have control in your matter to mitigate costs. When I say mitigate costs, I don't mean that you can control everything, because as an attorney and as a client, you can't control everything that happens in your divorce. We can't control how the other side is going to respond to things. We can't control the speed at which they're going to respond to things, and that can sometimes be frustrating. But there are things that are within your control, and if you exert that control in the divorce process, I promise you the cost will be less. So in considering how you can try to mitigate costs, I've come up with some do's and don'ts that I hope you'll consider as you go through this process. Do come prepared to meetings with your attorney with questions. The questions that you have are important and they need to be answered. The worst thing that can happen is that you feel like you're a backseat driver to your own divorce. You need to make sure that you're asking questions along the way and you're engaged in the process with your attorney. Don't disregard the advice that your lawyer is giving you. Expect that we've seen it all before because we have. And I understand that no two divorces and no two set of circumstances are exactly the same, but understand that we're advocating for you. We're on your team and we want the best result for you. So there may be times in the process that we're giving you advice and you may not like it, but try not to disregard it. Do compile documents in an organized and succinct way when you're giving them to the attorney. There's a lot of financials to go through, especially in highly complex matters. And the easier you get that documentation to us, the easier we'll be able to go through it and help you navigate that financial picture. Don't involve your children in the litigation. Don't attempt to alienate them from the affections of their other parent. It is the worst thing you can do from a psychological perspective for your kids, but also it can be so damaging in your divorce proceeding and can only lead to increased costs. The next do and don't sort of go hand in hand. Do develop a network that you can rely upon to talk about the day-to-day struggles that you're going through with your divorce proceeding. Divorce is difficult, even the simple ones, and you want to make sure that you have resources and an outlet to discuss what you're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. But don't confuse your attorney with that support network. We're not mental health professionals or therapists, and we're not qualified to be that. We're your attorney and your advocate. And oftentimes those lines are blurred, but it's really important that you try hard not to do that. And the last do is really important. You want to remember that this is a snippet of time, as difficult as it is, and it will pass. There will be opportunity on the other end for you to live a different life, maybe a more fulfilled life. And you want to make sure that you keep that in your mind as you go through the process. It will help you to stay goal oriented and get to the other side. I want to thank you again for spending a couple minutes with me today. I hope you found the tips in this video helpful. I know divorce can be hard, but there are things that you can do to not only control the emotional aspect of it, but also the cost. So when you're ready to make the decision and call an attorney, we're here to help you. So don't hesitate when that time comes to pick up the phone and call our office.